The hall went silent before the scream. Crystal lights trembled over 100 upturned faces as Amara, the maid in a plain navy uniform and scuffed flats, rose on tiptoe and pressed her lips to the billionaire's mouth, right there in front of his wife. It happened under the chandelier of the Adeyemi mansion on Victoria Island, Lagos. The charity dinner was live-streamed. Drummers had just finished. Phones were up. A violinist held a breath that lasted too long. And in that frozen second, Kola Adeyemi, tech mogul, Forbes cover face, the man whose name danced on headlines from Lagos to Atlanta, didn't move away. Vanessa Adeyemi's emerald dress flashed as she stepped forward, eyes shining hard as glass. "Are you serious?" she said, voice low but loud enough to carry. The photographer's flash cracked. A server dropped a silver tray, the clatter bounced off marble. Amara's hands were shaking. Her hair, a simple cornrow style tied with a black ribbon, quivered at the ends. She looked like someone who had never learned how to stand in a room full of power. She swallowed. "Please," she whispered, but her voice got swallowed by the gasps. Kola blinked, his jaw set. He was tall, with a cool navy tux and a Lagos meets Atlanta charm that made investors lean in and reporters follow. He didn't look at his wife first. He looked at Amara. "Why?" he asked, so softly the microphone almost missed it. That was when Vanessa's face broke. "I gave you my whole 20s, she said. "My 30s. I built this brand with you." Guests pulled back like the tide. A senator's wife turned away, shaking her head. The violinist lowered his bow. Somewhere, a tablet screen kept recording, heart icons floating up the side. Vanessa's lawyer, Marlon Carter, a crisp suit, Chicago accent, beard trimmed to the millimeter, stepped out from the shadows with 2 security guards. It was like he had been waiting. "Mrs. Adeyemi," he said, "we have what we need." Cameras swung. Voices rose. And in the middle of it all, Amara whispered to Kola, so close that only he could hear, "I'm sorry. I had to." By dawn, Vanessa would file for divorce. By noon, hashtags would split the city. By sunset, every street vendor near Ozumbambadu would be talking about the kiss that scattered the home. But in that exact moment, the mansion fractured. Vanessa lifted her chin and faced the room. "Ladies and gentlemen," she said, steady as a judge, "thank you for your support tonight. This event is over." The band stopped mid-note. Security formed a soft wall. Guests shuffled toward the doors, whispering. A few tried to comfort Vanessa, but she kept her eyes on Kola and the maid like she was memorizing the scene for court. The story would replay all night. Different angles, different captions. Some would say the maid planned it. Some would say Kola's stillness meant guilt. No one would remember that the champagne on the high table sat untouched, the bubbles dying under white light. Hours earlier, when the sun was still up and the mansion smelled like fresh flowers and lemon polish, Amara had been rinsing plates behind the kitchen, hands raw from soap. She was 21, with smooth dark brown skin and the tired grace of someone used to being ignored. She had come to Lagos from ABA with a promise of steady pay and a small room. The room had a tiny window that looked into a palm tree. On good nights it held quiet. That afternoon, a delivery arrived. 5 boxes of imported champagne for the VIP table. The chief chef, a strict Yoruba man named Bamadil who ran the kitchen like a factory, checked each label and nodded. "Careful," he told Amara. "Those bottles cost more than your salary." She smiled because smiling was easier than answering. She wiped the bottles, lined them in the cooler, and returned to peeling plantain for the small plates. In the corner of the kitchen, the house manager, Auntie Rose, checked the staff rota with a pen between her teeth. "You," she said to Amara. "High table duty from 9. Quick hands. Keep the glasses full. Keep your feet soft." Amara nodded. "Yes, Ma." In the main hall, planners tested the lights. Vanessa walked the room in robe and slippers, rehearsing the welcome speech under her breath, as if her smile depended on the words lining up. She greeted staff by name, Vanessa always did that, and corrected minor things with gentle fingers. "Straighten that centerpiece. Beautiful, thank you." Kola stood near the balcony, phone to his ear, voice tight as a wire. He talked about a data center in Texas, about a lag in Ghana, about the new foundation's goal for girls in STEM from Atlanta's West End to Abuja. He hung up, rolled his shoulders, and gave a grin that made you think he had never been angry in his life. Amara saw him then just for a second, a man everyone else tilted toward. She also saw the other thing, small as an eyelash, a new security camera mounted above the high table, the lens angled at the champagne stand. No one put cameras there. Cameras watched doors and safes, not drinks. She told herself it was nothing. She told herself the rich had rules for everything. She kept working. By 8, the guests arrived. Business leaders, Nollywood stars, an NFL player from Atlanta with Yoruba parents, a gospel singer from Port Harcourt, 2 U.S. journalists in slim suits. There were American voices and Nigerian jokes. There were Gelly head wraps and slicked-back ponytails and a dress so gold it looked wet. The band played lightly like a hand on your back. "High table, Amara," Auntie Rose whispered. "Be invisible and be perfect." Amara carried the tray to the VIP stand. She set down the flutes, each one a thin bell of glass. She reached for the first bottle. The foil crinkled under her fingers. As she twisted the wire, she noticed something she had not seen in the kitchen. A tiny dot of residue under the foil seam, like sugar that had melted and dried again. She froze. Could be nothing. Could be something. She tipped the bottle and sniffed the mouth. It smelled like champagne. Of course it did. She almost laughed at herself. Then she saw the second camera above the far column, also angled at the drinks. The violinist tested a note. Guests took their seats. Vanessa and Kola entered as a pair, practiced and dazzling. When they reached the table, Vanessa squeezed Kola's fingers. He squeezed back. It was smooth. Amara popped the first bottle. The cork leaped. A cheer rose. She poured for Vanessa. She poured for Kola. Then for one heartbeat the air shifted. It came like a cold hand across the back of her neck, a flash of memory from the small room she rented off Pongrove, an auntie's story about a neighbor who had gone to a party and never come back, about drinks that took a man down slow. People said things and people lied, but the story stayed. Amara stepped back. "Excuse me, sir," she said to Kola. "I think." "Pour for the left side first," Vanessa murmured kindly, eyes on the program. "We serve counterclockwise tonight." Amara's throat tightened. She poured for the left. When she turned back, a tall guest, Vanessa's lawyer as she would later learn, had drifted to the corner near the drinks, pretending to check his phone. His eyes were not on the screen. Someone clinked a glass. Vanessa rose to speak. "Friends," she began, voice bright, "tonight is more than a party. It's a promise." Amara's heart hammered. She stared at Kola's glass. The tiny residue under the foil. The cameras aimed too low. The lawyer hovering like a moon. She didn't have proof. She only had a feeling that ran colder than kitchen tile at midnight. Vanessa lifted her glass to toast. Kola reached for his. In the half-second before his fingers touched the stem, Amara moved. She stepped into the space between the Billionaire couple and the eyes of Lagos. She bumped the glass with her elbow so it rolled a soft arc onto the tablecloth. A few drops leaped out and vanished into white. Heads turned. Instinctively, Kola looked at Amara. In that same breath, she did the only thing that would stop the toast, stop the sip, stop everything. She kissed him. It was clumsy and quick, the kind of kiss that says I am desperate, not I am in love. The room stopped. The glass trembled on the cloth. Kola's eyes went wide. Vanessa went still. Then, like thunder following flash, the shouts came. "What is this? Did you see that? On camera. On camera." Security moved. Auntie Rose's hand covered her mouth. The chef swore under his breath. And Vanessa, eyes wet but sharp, stood straighter than the veiled brides Amara watched from the back of churches when she was a girl. "Enough," Vanessa said. She didn't shout. She didn't need to. "Marlon?" The lawyer stepped forward as if cued. "Mrs. Adeyemi," he said crisp, "as discussed we proceed." "As discussed." Kola echoed, surprise cracking his voice. He half turned to Vanessa. "What's going on?" "What's going on," Vanessa replied, "is that I'm done being humiliated in my own home." The room spun for Amara. This was worse than she imagined. She had tried to save a man from a sip, and instead she had set a match to a marriage. She felt the heat of 100 eyes. She wanted to run, but her legs stayed. Kola leaned toward her, confusion furrowing his brow. "Why did you do that?" Amara didn't answer. "Not yet." She slipped her hand along the table as if steadying herself, and with the motion of a person drowning who has learned to hide panic, she slid something into Kola's palm, so small it could be missed. It was a microsim, trimmed down, wrapped in a torn corner of kitchen foil. Kola's fingers closed around it in reflex. He didn't look down. He locked eyes with Amara, and for the first time he saw that her fear wasn't about shame. It was about time. Vanessa's voice cut through the blood hum in his ears. "Everyone thank you," she said to the room again, the public voice of a woman who had led galas in D.C. and church fundraisers in Surulere. "The night is over. Please make your way out. Staff clear the hall." As people moved, as hashtags were born, as doors swung open and the night air rolled in from the lagoon, Kola felt the thin edge of the foil in his palm. Amara took one small step back. Her eyes said words her mouth couldn't risk. 2:13, she mouthed. He frowned. What? Her lips formed it again, barely a breath. Check the footage. 2:13. Then Auntie Rose pulled Amara away, the lawyer ushered Vanessa into a side room, and security closed around Kola like a gate. Somewhere in the house, the new cameras kept their patient watch, lenses shining. Somewhere in the mansion's quiet gut, a hard drive recorded the truth without caring who bled from it. Kola looked down at his hand. The foil glinted. A tiny trimmed SIM card pressed into his skin. Outside, tires rolled on stone. Inside, the marriage he had sold to the world as a brand shifted like a building in an earthquake. He slipped the micro SIM into his tux pocket, lifted his head and said to no one in particular, "Find me the security room." No one moved. The lawyer's eyes were on him. The band pretended to sort sheet music. Staff stared at the floor. For a second, even the chandeliers seemed to hold their breath. Then, from the corridor, a raised voice cut through the hush, Vanessa's voice, steady and formal, reading from something that sounded like it had been drafted and redrafted in a quiet US office far from Lagos heat. "I, Vanessa Adeyemi," she said, "am filing for divorce." And before anyone could reach him, the main hallway lights flickered once, twice and went dark. A single red LED glowed over the camera above the high table, then blinked off. The house lost its eyes. The darkness didn't last long. In Lagos, blackouts arrive like uninvited cousins and leave when the generator clears its throat. A deep metallic cough rolled through the mansion's bones, and the emergency lights blinked to life, narrow strips of white along the baseboards, a soft red behind the exit signs. Shadows grew sharp. "Everybody remain calm," the head of security called. He was a tall northern man named Musa Dinladi, the kind who said little and saw much. He touched his earpiece. "Backup power is stable." Kola didn't wait. "Musa," he said, voice low, "take me to the security room. Now." Musa hesitated just long enough to glance toward the corridor where Vanessa's voice had disappeared. Then he nodded and led the way. They moved past portraits and planters, past guests pretending not to stare. The hallway smelled like roses and hot wiring. Behind them, staff began to stack plates and fold linen with shaking hands. Auntie Rose gripped Amara's elbow so hard it hurt. "What were you thinking?" she hissed, dragging her toward the service corridor. "You want to die in uniform?" Amara swallowed. "Auntie, please." "Not here." Rose pushed open the door to the storage room, a square of shelves and mops and the cold breath of the walk-in fridge. She shut it behind them. "You are not a lawyer. You are not family. You don't fix rich people's problems with your mouth." Amara's fingers trembled. She pressed them together. "I saw." "What did you see?" Rose demanded. "Cameras pointing at drinks," Amara said. "Residue under the foil. The lawyer standing guard like a hawk. The time was important." Auntie Rose's mouth opened, then closed. She looked older in the emergency light. "I've worked in houses 20 years, she said softly. "There are storms you go around, not through." Amara's eyes stung. "If he drank?" "Shoo," Rose snapped, then softened. "Shoo. You've already set the fire. Now don't stand in it." She touched Amara's cheek, quick as a blessing. "Stay here. If anyone asks, you fainted. You understand me?" Amara nodded. The door clicked. She was alone with the smell of disinfectant and lemon oil. Her chest rose and fell like she'd sprinted up 12 flights. She slid down the metal shelf to a crouch and pressed her forehead to her knees. The black ribbon at the end of her cornrows tickled her neck. She thought of home, ABA's red dust and her mother's laugh, thin as a bell, and the warning that rode on every auntie's tongue after one too many funerals: "Watch the cups they hand you." She had not come to Lagos to play hero. She had come because the palace of a rich man offered regular meals and a mattress in a room with a window. But here she was, clutching at breathing in a storage room while a marriage collapsed in the next corridor. Down the hall, Musa unlocked the steel door to the security suite. Inside, a wall of monitors blinked awake, drives humming, feeds returning, lantern glow on glass. A young technician with dreadlocks under a cap, Tiga, looked up from a control panel he'd been slapping. "Oga," he said, eyes wide at the sight of the boss, "we just had a surge. I think." "Footage," Kola said. "Ballroom. Bar. High table. Start at 2100. He slipped a hand into his tux pocket, felt the corner of foil, felt the tiny tooth of the microsim. The unknown pressed back, small but heavy. Tiga's fingers flew. Square after square lit up. Doors, hallways, the main entrance, the staff corridor, the ballroom, each frame stuttered, then steadied. The camera above the high table showed Vanessa's perfect smile paused mid-glint, the champagne bottles like soldiers. Rewind 30 minutes, Kola said. They watched a sped-up ballet, staff gliding in, the lawyer leaning against a column, a florist nudging petals, Amara moving like a shadow with purpose. Tiga slowed it when the maid lifted the first bottle. There, he said. Closer, Kola murmured. Tiga zoomed. The picture thickened, pixels like beads. Under the foil seam, a darker dot, not obvious, not loud, but there. What's that? Musa asked. Keep going, Kola said. The footage rolled. Clinks and smiles. Vanessa and Kola's entrance. The toast that almost happened. The bump of Amara's elbow. The kiss. The uproar. Even on the silent feed, the moment slapped the room. Musa made a small sound in his throat. That girl just, in front of... Freeze, Kola ordered. He stared at his own face, eyes wide in the frame. He had been on stages in New York and Nairobi. He had wrestled with deals that took men a decade to understand. He had not seen this coming. Back to 2113, he said. Tiga tapped. The timestamp in the corner rewound. 21 hours 13 minutes and 2 seconds. 21 hours 13 minutes and 1 second. 21 hours and 13 minutes. The scene blurred with motion. A tall figure in a staff jacket drifted behind the high table as if checking the floral garland. The hand moved, quick as a lizard on hot rock, and the foil cap on the second bottle lifted just a whisper. Stop, Kola said. His mouth went dry. Zoomed the hand. Tiga did. The fingers were in nitrile gloves. On the wrist, half covered by sleeve, there was a thin flash of something metallic. A bracelet? A watch. The face turned away from the camera, cap low. Another angle, Musa said. Tiga flipped to the column camera. This view caught the figure from the side. The line of the jaw was clean. The gait was smooth. The height, tall enough to be a man, slim enough to be a woman in flats. The hand tilted. A micro-dropper appeared and vanished. The foil pressed back down perfect. Musa swore softly. Who is that? Kola's pulse thudded in his ears. He looked for something to betray the intruder, a scar, a ring, a habit. He found none. We need faces, he said. Tiga scrubbed forward. A reflection flashed in the curve of a vase. For a heartbeat, the figure's half-profile shimmered there, distorted by glass. It wasn't clear enough to confirm. It was clear enough to chill. Musa folded his arms. Sir, we must call the police. Not yet, Kola said, the decision landing hard in his chest. Pull the drive after we mirror it. Tiga clicked through menus. Oga, there is a gap, he said, frowning. From 21 hours 12 minutes and 50 seconds to 21 hours 14 minutes and 10 seconds. It's missing. How missing? Musa asked. Tiga tapped again. Gone. Overwritten. Like someone cut a scarf and stitched it back. But this backup said, he stopped, embarrassed. Kola exhaled. The SIM in his pocket felt warmer. He pulled it out and set it on the desk. Can you read a micro SIM here? Tiga blinked. Yes, sir. Why? Because someone put this in my hand in the middle of a hurricane, Kola said. And she mouthed 213 like it was a password. Tiga slid the SIM into a tiny adapter, fed it into a reader and linked it to the console. An icon appeared, a barebones folder with 3 files. 2 were tiny text notes. One was an audio file labeled kitchen_2017.mp3, but the metadata said it was created an hour ago. Tiga clicked play. At first, the whisper of extractor fans, clank of pans, laughter of kitchen boys. Then a man's voice, clean, American Midwest meeting South Side, Marlon Carter. We're set, he said. Cameras calibrated. Angle favors the wife. When the toast starts, make sure he reaches for glass 2. A second voice came in low, muffled. Was careful. Practiced. The words were clear. The identity hid inside their calm. 213, the calm voice said. Lights will blink then. He's a creature of habit. Right hand, second glass. We won't need anything heavy. Just enough to slow him, to make a scene if we need it. Marlon again, are you sure about this? The public is different from a boardroom. Public is the point, the calm voice said. The prenup is very clear about optics. Documented humiliation triggers a renegotiation clause. If the internet sees it, the court will read it. This ends tonight. The kitchen noise rose, someone shouting for plantain, the chef's Yoruba oath. A third voice slid in, nervous, younger. But ma the dose. Do not call me ma in this room, the calm voice cut in. Do your job and disappear. The audio clipped. Silence. Kola didn't realize he had gripped the back of Tiga's chair until his knuckles ached. Play it again, he said. Tiga did. The calm voice rolled like velvet over a blade. Familiar. Not just familiar, intimate. A voice he had heard whisper beneath chandeliers, argue in boardrooms, pray over dinner. Musa looked at Kola. Who is that? He asked. Kola stared at the speakers as if they could confess. His mind ran through the roster of people close enough to choreograph a night like this. A CFO from Atlanta, his old friend Tund who ran operations in Port Harcourt, his sister Funmi who hated politics, the global PR lead they hired from New York, the wife he had loved since they were broke and borrowing suits. Open the text files, Kola said, eyes never leaving the screen. Tiga opened the first. It was a list of camera IDs with angles annotated. The second was 3 lines long. 213, flicker / glass number 2 / after toast cue. Vanessa speaks 40 seconds. Lawyer moves left at sound cue. Musa's lips thinned. Sir. Kola held up a hand. The room's hum pressed in. The emergency light cast everyone in one color, pale. Where did this recording come from? He asked. Tiga checked the properties. Cheap phone mic, he said. Saved a SIM. Someone stripped the device after recording. Kola swallowed. In his chest, anger and fear began a slow dance. He thought of the look on Vanessa's face, the hard sheen over something broken. He thought of the lawyer already in place like a prop in a stage picture. He thought of the maid who'd pushed a storm with her mouth just to stop a man from reaching for glass too. Find where that kitchen recording could have happened, he said. Tiga rewound the kitchen feed to 1 hour before. They watched in silence as cooks hustled, as Bamadil scolded, as Auntie Rose counted plates. There, by the back fridge, a phone propped inside a metal tray, camera lens dark, SIM likely recording only audio. A figure leaned close to talk to the lawyer. The frame caught only a sleeve, a corner of a jaw, a small mole near the ear. The calm voice came from that corner, head slightly bowed so lips were close to Marlon's. Tiga froze it. Musa leaned in. Kola blinked hard. The mole. He knew that mole. He had kissed that mole once in Miami in a rented Airbnb when they were building their first pitch deck. He had teased that mole across 3 countries and 2 babies. He had traced it with his thumb the year they bought the house with the lagoon view. His mouth went dry. No, he said. It came out thin. On the screen, the pixelated mole waited, patient. In the corridor outside, heels tapped, measured, certain. The door to the security room opened a fraction. Vanessa stood there in the thin white of the emergency light, eyes clear, face careful. She looked like a woman who could sell a piece to a city and mean it. Are we done here? She asked, voice mild, gaze sweeping over the screens. Her eyes passed over the frozen frame of her own half-hidden face without a flinch. Musa straightened. Tiga's hands left the keyboard. The room felt too small for all 3 of their breaths. Kola's jaw worked before any words came. He touched the desk to ground himself. Why Vanessa? He asked, and every letter was sand. She tilted her head, studying him like a distant star. Because we can't keep pretending, Kola, she said. And because some battles are only won when the world is watching. By drugging me? His voice tore on the last word. Her brows lifted. Drugging? She almost smiled. Do you think I would let anyone harm you? She stepped in and closed the door behind her. Then her gaze slid past Kola to the frozen screen, where a glove pressed foil and a droplet vanished into gold. She didn't blink. What are you talking about? She asked softly, like someone indulging a child. Tiga's finger hovered above the spacebar. Musa didn't move. Vanessa's eyes flicked to the SIM reader and back to Kola's face. She sighed, beautiful and tired. You always hated mess, she said. I arranged a clean ending. Kola stared at her. The room narrowed to the space between her pupils and his. A clean ending to what? He asked. To us, she said, and the words were soft knives. Before he could answer, Musa's radio crackled. A guard's voice, urgent. Sir, we've got press at the gate. And, sir, someone just tried to leave through the staff exit with a case of backup drives. Musa shot upright. Who? He barked. The answer came hot. Chef Bamadil. Says he's taking leftovers. But the case is for electronics. Kola's head jerked to the screens, then to Vanessa. For the first time all night, something in her face moved out of place, a thread pulling where it shouldn't. Stop him, Kola said, the command slamming the air. Now. Musa was already gone, the door banging against the wall. On the monitors, the feed from the back corridor showed Bamadil's stocky figure hustling toward the exit. A black case clutched tight, 2 junior staff in his slipstream like guilty shadows. In his wake, a single champagne flute rolled along a tray left askew. It was glass number 2. The hallway outside the mansion's kitchen exploded into motion. Security men sprinted down the tiled corridor as the flicker of the backup lights danced across their shoulders. Their boots struck the floor like drums in a war film. "Stop that man!" Musa shouted into his radio, voice echoing through the walls. Chef Bamadil froze halfway through the back door, the heavy black case still in his hand. His tall, stocky frame looked more like a bouncer than a chef. 2 younger staff members, bright uniforms, terrified eyes, hovered behind him like chicks caught in a storm. "Sir, it's just leftover equipment from the tech team," Bamadil said quickly. Sweat pooled at his hairline. "The house manager told me." "No one told you anything," Musa barked. He reached for the case. "Open it." Bamadil hesitated. His lips twitched. Then, with a defeated sigh, he placed the case on a stainless steel counter and clicked it open. Inside were no leftovers. Only rows of small hard drives, neatly packed, each labeled with a time stamp. Some were from the ballroom, others from the kitchen, corridor, even the private study upstairs. The missing footage Amara had risked everything to protect was there. Musa stared down at the drives, anger bubbling beneath his calm. "You were smuggling the evidence," he said. Bamadil raised his palms. "Oga Musa, please. I don't know what's inside. They just said take." "Who said?" The chef swallowed hard. His gaze darted toward the side door leading to the west parking lot. "Madam's lawyer," he whispered. Musa's jaw tightened. "Call Kola," he ordered his men. "Tell him we've got something." In the security room, Kola stood stiff behind the desk, Vanessa's perfume filling the air between them. The sound of clattering feet reached faintly through the walls. "Bamadil tried to smuggle out evidence," Kola said quietly. "Why?" Vanessa didn't flinch. Her emerald earrings swung gently as she turned to face him. "You should be thanking me, not interrogating me," she said. "This spectacle saved your company's reputation. We both know the press would have eventually found something worse." Kola blinked. "Something worse than you trying to poison me?" Vanessa's eyes narrowed. "Don't twist this." "You were recorded," Kola said, voice sharpening. He pointed at the screen frozen on her image near the kitchen door. "Your voice, Vanessa. Giving instructions. You wanted me humiliated so you could trigger the prenups clause." Her smile came like a cut. "Do you remember who wrote that clause, Kola?" "You did. You said it was protection, in case you fall out of love. And guess what? You did." He stared at her. "I never stopped loving you. You stopped seeing me." Vanessa gave a tired laugh. "Love doesn't keep empires alive. Image does." The radio on the desk crackled. "Sir, we have the case," Musa's voice came through. "Full of drives." Bamadil confessed the lawyer instructed him. Kola's eyes darted to Vanessa. "So Marlon's part of this too?" She shrugged. "He manages my affairs. He does what I ask." Kola leaned closer, anger and disbelief burning through him. "You were ready to destroy me for money?" "For peace," she said softly. "I couldn't live another year under the same roof pretending you still looked at me the same way you look at your empire. Or that made you hired." He froze. "Amara?" Vanessa's jaw tightened. "Don't say her name like you don't know." "I don't," he said. "You think I'd risk everything for a girl who scrubs dishes?" Vanessa's expression cracked just slightly. "You looked at her differently. Every woman knows that look." Before he could respond, the door burst open. Musa entered with 2 guards and the black case of drives. "We have it all, sir," Musa said, setting the case on the table. "Kitchen footage, backup room, everything. And the lawyer, he's gone. Left through the side gate 5 minutes before the power cut." Vanessa turned sharply. "He what?" Musa nodded grimly. "We checked the cameras, he disappeared into a black SUV. No plate numbers." Kola picked one of the drives and turned it in his hand. "Then the plan wasn't yours alone." Vanessa looked away. "I told Marlon to prepare options." "I didn't say." The radio crackled again, cutting her off. "Sir, this is Chica from the main gate. The press are outside. Dozens of them." And, the guard's voice dropped. "Sir, there's a girl here asking to see you. She says it's urgent." Kola frowned. "What girl?" "She says her name is Amara." Vanessa's face went cold. "You will not bring that maid here." But Kola was already striding toward the door. "Bring her to the lounge," he ordered. The lounge was half lit, the chandelier now dull and tired from the generator's strain. The smell of expensive perfume mixed with the faint odor of smoke from the kitchen generator vents. Amara stood by the entrance, still in her Navy maid's uniform. Her hands were folded tightly together, knuckles white. Auntie Rose hovered behind her, whispering silent prayers. When Kola entered, Amara's eyes darted up, and for a second she looked as though she wanted to disappear. "Amara," he said, voice gentler than he expected. "You can speak freely here." Vanessa followed him in, her high heels tapping like hammers. "She said enough," she snapped. "This girl just humiliated you in front of the entire city." Amara took a shaky breath. "I didn't mean to embarrass anyone, madam. Her voice cracked. "I saw what they were doing." Vanessa's lips curled. "You saw nothing." Amara stepped forward. "Madam, please. I saw Mr. Marlin putting something inside the bottle. I heard them talk about glass number 2. Vanessa's face stiffened. "That's ridiculous." "It's true," Kola interrupted, his tone cutting like ice. He turned to Amara. "The SIM card you gave me had proof. You recorded the conversation?" Amara nodded, tears forming. "Yes, sir. I didn't know what to do. I thought if I told anyone they'd say I was lying. So I recorded it." Vanessa turned slowly to Kola. "And you believe her over me?" Kola met her eyes. "I believe what I heard." Silence. Thick, heavy. Then Vanessa laughed once, a sound full of disbelief. "So this is what we've become. My husband defending a maid." Amara dropped her gaze to the floor. "I'm sorry, Ma. I didn't want trouble." Vanessa took a step closer, her voice low and venomous. "You think a sorry can fix this? You ruined my life tonight." Amara didn't answer. Her chin trembled, but she stood still. Kola stepped between them. "Enough. Vanessa, you filed for divorce. Do it cleanly. Don't drag a girl who tried to save me into your revenge." Vanessa's hand twitched, her anger slipping beneath her poise. "You think this is about revenge? Wait until tomorrow morning, Kola. The headlines will tell a different story. The whole world saw her kiss you. Do you think anyone will believe it was to save you?" Her words sank like stones. Amara's shoulders trembled. She hadn't thought of that. To the public, she'd always be the maid who kissed her boss. Vanessa smirked faintly, eyes glinting. "You've lost your empire the same way you built it, through scandal?" Then she turned, heels striking the marble floor as she walked away. The door slammed behind her. Kola stood motionless, chest rising and falling. He turned to Amara, whose face was streaked with tears she didn't bother to wipe. "You did the right thing," he said softly. Amara shook her head. "No, sir. I think I made it worse." "Worse for them maybe," Kola said. "Not for the truth." Outside the mansion, the first waves of gossip had already reached social media. Hashtag the kiss that scattered the home trended across Nigeria and Atlanta simultaneously. News vans lined the street. Drone lights hovered like fireflies above the estate's gates. Inside, Kola leaned against the wall, thinking of everything that had crumbled in one night. His marriage, his image, his trust. Musa re-entered quietly. "Sir, the police are on their way. But the media will get here first." "Let them come," Kola said. "We have evidence." Musa nodded, then hesitated. "What about the maid?" Kola looked at Amara, sitting silently on a couch, head bowed. "She's staying here tonight. In the guest quarters. She's not safe to leave yet." Amara looked up, startled. "Sir, I can't." "You can," Kola said. "You saved my life. Now let me protect yours." A faint knock broke the silence. A junior staff member peeked in. "Sir, it's the media. They're asking if the rumor about divorce is true." Kola exhaled slowly. "Tell them no comment." The door closed again. He turned to the window where the camera flashes painted the night like lightning. Somewhere behind those lights, the world was already judging him. A billionaire brought to his knees by a kiss from his maid. But beneath the chaos, one truth burned bright in his chest. That kiss had saved his life. And as the night deepened, he knew this was only the beginning. Don't forget to subscribe to hear what happens next in Chapter 4, because this story is only getting deeper. The next morning, the Adeyemi mansion was surrounded by chaos. News vans idled outside the gates. Microphones poked through the bars like hungry snakes. Reporters shouted questions that echoed down the driveway. "Mr. Adeyemi, did your maid really kiss you in front of your wife? Is it true Mrs. Adeyemi filed for divorce? Are you stepping down as CEO of Adeyemi Tech Group?" Musa and the guards held the press line, but the damage was done. By 8 a.m. the internet had already crucified them all. Hashtag Maid Kiss Billionaire, hashtag Vanessa Adeyemi Divorce, hashtag Kola Scandal, hashtag spread like wildfire. Clips of the incident, shot from every phone at the gala, circulated across Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. People didn't care why Amara kissed her boss. They just saw the kiss. Inside the mansion, Amara sat alone in the guest quarters, a soft, air-conditioned prison. She hadn't slept. Her phone buzzed constantly from messages she couldn't bear to read. "So you be kiss thief now? Amara, you on TV? Them say you snatch madam husband." "True." She pressed her face into her palms. Every time she blinked, she saw Vanessa's eyes, furious and cold. She saw the flash of cameras. She heard the whispers, "Maid, shameless homebreaker." The door clicked. Kola entered, dressed in a white shirt and dark slacks. He looked like a man who hadn't rested either. His eyes were heavy, his voice low. "Amara," he said gently, "you need to eat something." She shook her head. "Sir, they'll never believe me. Everyone thinks—" She trailed off, her voice cracking. "I know," Kola said. He set a tray on the table, bread, fruit, a cup of tea. "But we'll prove them wrong." She looked up, eyes wide and wet. "How? Madam owns the story now. People think I wanted you." Kola took a breath, steadying himself. "The footage from the drives Musa recovered, it's not just evidence of sabotage. It's bigger. There's something else in there." He placed a small USB drive on the table. "This one shows Marlon entering the mansion an hour before the event with an unregistered team. He brought their own mini cameras and rewired the main feed." Amara frowned. "Why would he do that?" "Because the plan was to record my humiliation," Kola said. "To use it legally against me, and destroy my image in one night." Her hands shook. "Madam planned everything?" "Her and Marlon," he said quietly. "Maybe more. But they didn't count on you seeing what you saw." Amara blinked away tears. "Sir, I couldn't let you drink it." Kola smiled faintly, the first trace of warmth she'd seen in hours. "You saved my life, Amara. That kiss may have ruined me publicly, but privately, it changed everything." He reached for the USB and slipped it into his pocket. "I have a friend, Detective Uche. He's discreet. He'll help us uncover who really planted the poison and edited the camera feeds." "Will the police believe us?" Kola hesitated. "Only if we show them the truth before Vanessa buries it." At that same moment, Vanessa Adeyemi stood before a mirror in a luxury suite at the Oriental Hotel, Victoria Island. Her lawyer, Marlon Carter, sat nearby, typing furiously on a laptop. "You've been quiet," Marlon said. "I assume the fallout is satisfying?" Vanessa adjusted her silk robe and stared at her reflection. "Satisfying?" she murmured. "You think I wanted to destroy 20 years of marriage for fun? You filed for divorce within the hour." "I filed for peace," she said flatly. "Not war." Marlon leaned back, crossing his legs. "Peace doesn't trend online. Right now, half the world thinks you caught your husband kissing the maid. You're the victim. The sympathy is working." Vanessa sighed. "And Kola? Publicly? He's the fool. Privately? He's investigating." She turned, eyes narrowing. "Investigating what?" "The footage. Someone leaked the kitchen audio." Vanessa's calm cracked. "Leaked?" "Yes. We found snippets on a small gossip blog. They haven't connected it to you yet, but if that audio spreads—" "Delete it," Vanessa said sharply. "Everywhere." Marlon exhaled slowly. "That's not easy. Once it's online, it grows legs." Vanessa's hand trembled, but she steadied it. Then cut them off. She walked to the window, gazing at the lagoon glittering under morning sun. "You told me everything was contained." "I did," Marlon said. "But you underestimated that maid." Vanessa's jaw tightened. "Amara?" she whispered as if tasting the name. "Find her. I want her gone before the press gets to her." Marlon frowned. "You mean?" "I mean fire her," Vanessa snapped. "Discredit her, silence her, whatever it takes. I won't let a girl who scrubs floors rewrite my story." Back at the mansion, Detective Uche arrived that afternoon. A tall man in his 40s, plain suit, hard eyes softened by wisdom. He shook Kola's hand firmly. "I saw the news," Uche said. "Quite the storm you're in, Kola." Kola nodded. "You'll see worse once you watch this." He handed over the recovered drives. Uche plugged one into his tablet and fast-forwarded through hours of footage. Then he stopped. "There," he said, tapping the screen. "Your lawyer, Marlon. He's adjusting the same camera twice before the gala started. Looks like he's replacing the main feed with a duplicate." Amara leaned closer, whispering, "That's when he planted the fake footage." Uche looked at her kindly. "You're the maid who stopped the toast?" She nodded. He studied her for a moment, then said quietly, "You have more courage than most people I've met in my 20 years on the force." Amara blushed and looked away. Kola folded his arms. "Can you trace the missing 30 seconds from the feed?" "I can," Uche said. "But it'll take time, and access to your internal server. If what I suspect is true, your wife's legal team might have cloned part of your system weeks ago." Kola frowned. "To monitor me? Or to stage this?" Uche said. Either way, someone wanted a scandal that looked organic. That night, as the generator hummed and Lagos lights twinkled outside, Amara stood by the window of her guest room, watching the city breathe. The mansion was quiet now. Too quiet. Her mind replayed everything, the look on Vanessa's face, the kiss, the gasps, the cameras. The weight of shame pressed down on her chest. Then a sound broke the silence. A faint click, the door handle. She turned quickly. A shadow slipped inside, moving with quiet precision. A man in a black jacket, gloved hands, face half hidden by a cap. Her heart froze. "Who's there?" she whispered. No answer. He moved closer, raising something metallic that caught the moonlight, a knife. Amara gasped and stumbled backward. Before the blade could reach her, the door burst open again. Musa tackled the intruder to the ground with a heavy thud. "Call security," Musa shouted, pinning the man down. Amara pressed against the wall, trembling. Who is he?" Musa ripped off the man's cap. The dim light revealed a familiar face, one of Marlon's security aides from the gala. Musa cursed under his breath. "Looks like someone doesn't want you alive, girl." He turned to his radio. "Sir, we've caught a man in the maid's quarters. He's armed." Kola's voice came back immediately, sharp as steel. "Keep him there. I'm coming." 15 minutes later, the man sat cuffed in the main lounge, blood trickling from his lip. Kola stood over him while Uche asked the questions. "Who sent you?" Uche demanded. The man smirked through the pain. "You already know." Uche leaned closer. "Say the name." The man's grin faltered, but he whispered it anyway, "Marlon Carter." Amara gasped. Kola's hands clenched into fists. Uche straightened. "Looks like the lawyer didn't just want to silence the evidence, he wanted to erase witnesses too." Kola took a step back, fury mixing with disbelief. "He works for Vanessa." "Yes," Uche said. "But whether she knew about this attempt, we'll find out soon." He looked at the armed man, then at Kola. "You'll need to decide, sir. Do we go public with this or wait until we can catch them both?" Kola stared at Amara, tired, frightened but unbroken. He made his choice. "We wait. And we strike when everyone's watching." Meanwhile, at the Oriental Hotel, Vanessa poured herself a glass of red wine, unaware that one of her men had failed his mission. The TV showed her face next to Kola's on every station. The billionaire scandal that shook Lagos. She smiled bitterly. At least they finally spelled my name right. But then her phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number appeared. "Unknown, you can't silence truth forever." "Unknown, check the evening news, 9 p.m. You'll see who's really trending." Her hand went cold. She looked out over the lagoon again. The sun was setting, and somewhere out there, the game she thought she controlled was turning against her. The evening sun dipped into the lagoon, painting the water blood orange. The mansion felt like a battlefield after the war, quiet, tense, and filled with ghosts of words no one wanted to say aloud. Detective Uche sat across from Kola in the study, his tablet glowing faintly in the dim light. Amara stood nearby, her fingers laced tightly together, still shaken from the attempted attack. The man they caught, Marlon's aide, had been taken to a secure location by police. He was refusing to speak further, but his phone, confiscated by Uche, had already revealed something startling. Uche's eyes narrowed as he scrolled. "Mr. Adeyemi, I think you should see this." Kola leaned forward. On the screen was a message thread between the attacker and an unknown number saved as V.A. Make sure it looks like a robbery. Don't leave a trace. V.A. If she talks, the story dies. Kola's jaw tightened. Vanessa Adeyemi. Amara gasped softly. "She really wanted to kill me?" Uche glanced at her, his face unreadable. "It appears so, but we can't jump to conclusions yet. Could be someone using her initials to frame her. We'll confirm the number." Kola rose, pacing the room. "No, detective. It's her. Vanessa always finishes what she starts." He stopped at the window, staring into the night. "I can't believe the woman I built everything with would stoop this low." Uche sighed. "Love makes people strange, Mr. Adeyemi. But betrayal? Betrayal makes them dangerous." At the Oriental Hotel, Vanessa was indeed dangerous. She sat at the vanity, makeup half removed, when her phone buzzed again, an alert from the same gossip blog she'd been watching obsessively since morning. This time the headline made her stomach twist. New audio leak. Vanessa Adeyemi's lawyer heard discussing scandal setup. She clicked. The same audio file Amara had recorded was now public, raw, grainy but clear enough to recognize voices. Hers and Marlon's. When the toast starts, make sure he reaches for glass too. The prenup clause will trigger once humiliation is proven. Her breath caught. No, 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 she muttered, scrolling through the comments. So she staged it. That poor maid was trying to help. Lock her up. Vanessa hurled her phone across the room, shattering it against the wall. Marlon burst in moments later, face pale, tie undone. It's everywhere, he said. Someone from inside your house leaked it. Every platform has it now. The police are investigating. Vanessa grabbed the edge of the vanity to steady herself. Who did it? Marlon rubbed his temples. The leak came from a local IP, likely one of the staff in the Adeyemi mansion. Her voice dropped to a whisper. Amara. Marlon hesitated. We can't be sure. But she's the one who recorded the first audio. If she's talking to the police. Then she's already ruined me, Vanessa finished, her tone flat but deadly. Marlon stepped closer. We can contain it. We just need to spin it before Kola speaks publicly. Vanessa gave a bitter laugh. And say what? That I was protecting my dignity while plotting to poison him? Exactly, Marlon said. Make it sound like you were the victim of manipulation. Tell the press that Kola and the maid framed you to avoid divorce payout. She stared at him. So now you want me to lie? He met her eyes evenly. Lagos runs on lies, Vanessa. You just have to sell yours better. At the mansion, Kola received the same alert minutes later. The leak had changed everything. He scrolled through comments under the story, reading a mix of rage and sympathy. That maid deserves justice. Kola should sue the wife and lawyer. What if Vanessa planned to kill him for inheritance? Kola set the phone down. This leak could save us or bury us deeper. Uche nodded. It's working in your favor for now. But if she goes public with a counter-story, the narrative could flip again. Then we take control of it, Kola said. We go live. Tonight. Amara's head snapped up. Live? As in TV? Yes, Kola said. I'll tell the truth. I'll clear your name. Her eyes widened, her voice trembling. Sir, if you say my name on TV, everyone will know where I am. They already tried to kill me. Kola paused. She was right. Her safety came first. He turned to Uche. Can she be moved somewhere secure? I can arrange that, Uche said. A safe house outside Lekki under police watch. But it must be tonight. Kola nodded. Do it. Amara hesitated. Sir, what if something happens to you? Kola smiled faintly. I've survived worse storms than this, Amara. But none that I owed to someone as brave as you. Their eyes met for a long moment. The kind of moment that says more than words ever could. But both knew it was the wrong time for emotion. Hours later, as night fell fully, Kola sat before a camera crew from a local news station. He wore a simple navy suit, his voice calm but weighted with emotion. Good evening, Nigeria. My name is Kola Adeyemi. Yesterday, my family became the subject of headlines that questioned my integrity and humiliated my household. But tonight, I will tell you the truth. The nation watched. Phones streamed his words across Africa, America, and Europe. The young woman you saw in that video, Amara Okafor, did not act out of disrespect or lust. She saved my life. The footage you saw was part of a staged plan involving individuals close to me, people I trusted with everything I built. He paused, exhaling deeply. And to the woman I once called my wife, Vanessa, if you're watching, I forgive you. But I will not cover your crimes. At that very moment, Vanessa and Marlon stood in front of a TV screen in the hotel suite, watching the broadcast unfold. When Kola mentioned forgiveness, Vanessa's lip quivered. For the first time in years she looked unsure, small. He's turning everyone against me, she whispered. Marlon clenched his jaw. You said you wanted freedom. This is it. She shook her head slowly. Not like this. By the time the broadcast ended, Lagos had already chosen sides. News anchors replayed Kola's statement on repeat. The police officially announced an investigation into Vanessa and her lawyer. Marlon's passport was flagged. Vanessa's accounts were frozen pending inquiry. Kola walked out of the studio to flashing cameras and shouted questions. Mr. Adeyemi, where is the maid now? Is your wife guilty of attempted murder? Kola stopped, looked straight into one camera lens and said clearly, the truth will speak for itself. That night, in a small safe house miles away from the mansion, Amara sat by the window again, this time watching stars instead of sirens. The world outside was loud, cruel and fast, but for once she felt safe. She whispered softly to herself, Mama, if you can hear me, I didn't do wrong. I just saved a life. Her phone buzzed, a new message from an unknown number. Unknown, you think it's over? Her breath caught. The typing dots appeared again. Unknown, Marlon doesn't fail twice. She dropped the phone in shock as the power in the safe house flickered once, twice, and went out completely. The lights went out, plunging the safe house into total darkness. The hum of the refrigerator died, the ceiling fan slowed, and the silence that followed felt alive. Amara's heart thudded in her chest. She grabbed her phone, using the screen's faint glow to orient herself. The message still glared at her, Marlon doesn't fail twice. Then came the sound, faint at first, then sharper, footsteps outside. Crunching gravel. Detective Uche? She called out softly. No answer. Her pulse quickened. She moved toward the door, whispering to herself, it's probably just the guard. But deep down she knew it wasn't. The footsteps stopped right outside. The door handle turned slowly. Amara's breath hitched. She looked around the small room, there was nowhere to hide except under the bed. She slipped beneath it, clutching her phone tight, praying the darkness would protect her. The door creaked open. A dim flashlight beam sliced through the room. A shadowed figure stepped inside, tall, deliberate, wearing black gloves. The same type of gloves she had seen the night of the gala. He scanned the room slowly, breathing through his nose. You can make this easy for both of us, he said quietly. His voice was deep, confident, not the same man Musa caught. Another one, Amara thought. They sent another one. The man crouched near the bed. Amara's heart stopped. He was close enough to hear her breath. She pressed her hand over her mouth. He reached under the mattress, and froze at the sound of an engine outside. Headlights flared through the window. Doors slammed. Police, a voice shouted. Drop your weapon. The man cursed under his breath, bolted toward the back door and crashed through the screen. Shots rang out, 2 then 3, echoing into the night. Amara stayed still for a few seconds before crawling out, trembling. Detective Uche burst in with 2 officers, his gun still drawn. Amara, are you hurt? She shook her head, tears spilling down her cheeks. He was here, he almost found me. Uche nodded grimly. We got him. He's wounded but alive. He'll talk. Amara sank to the floor, her whole body shaking. Why won't they stop, sir? Why won't they just leave me alone? Uche knelt beside her. Because you know too much. But that also means you're winning. By morning, Lagos was on fire again, not literally but digitally. The second attempted hit on Amara leaked through insider police reports. Social media erupted with outrage. They tried to kill the maid again? This woman must be protected. Justice for Amara Okafor. The tide had turned. Amara, once mocked and ridiculed, had become a symbol. The public now demanded arrests. Uche arrived at Kola's mansion at dawn, carrying a thin folder and a thumb drive. He found Kola by the balcony, staring at the lagoon with a coffee mug in hand. You look like you haven't slept, Uche said. Kola gave a tired smile. You're right. Tell me you've got good news. Uche handed him the folder. We interrogated the man who attacked the safe house. He confessed everything. Marlon paid him through a dummy account linked to a shell company registered under Vanessa's name. Kola's shoulders stiffened. So she knew. Not necessarily, Uche said carefully. Marlon could have used her credentials to cover his tracks. But there's more. This thumb drive contains security footage from the hotel. It shows Marlon meeting with the same men before the attack. Kola stared at the drive. Then it's time to end this. By noon, a convoy of police vehicles pulled into the Oriental Hotel. Guests peeked from balconies as officers marched inside. Vanessa was sitting by the window when they arrived. She didn't resist. She didn't even look surprised. Marlon, however, panicked. He tried to escape through the kitchen but was cornered in the service elevator. As officers dragged him out, he shouted, "You can't prove anything. I was following orders." When Vanessa heard that, she turned her head slowly. "Orders?" she said coldly. "Whose orders?" Marlon hesitated, a flicker of fear in his eyes. "Yours, of course. You told me to erase her." Vanessa's face paled. "I said fire her, not kill her. But the cameras were already rolling. The world would see only one thing, her lawyer screaming that she ordered a hit. Back at the mansion, Kola watched the live footage of the arrest. His phone buzzed non-stop with messages from reporters, business partners and old friends offering support. He ignored them all. When the door opened behind him, he didn't need to turn to know who it was. Amara stepped in wearing a simple blouse and jeans. Her eyes still carried the weight of the last few nights, but her voice was steady. "I heard they caught them." He nodded. "Yes, both of them." She looked out at the lagoon. "Will they go to jail?" Kola sighed. "They'll face the law. But justice moves slowly in our country." Amara nodded. "Still, truth won." He turned toward her, studying her quietly. "You lost everything because of me, Amara. Your job, your peace, your privacy." She shook her head. "I didn't lose anything, sir. I found courage." For the first time in days, Kola smiled, a real quiet smile. "You're remarkable." Before she could respond, Musa entered holding a tablet. "Sir, you need to see this." Kola took it and froze. A live broadcast from Vanessa's lawyer's channel was streaming. Marlon, bruised and handcuffed, was shouting as officers led him into a van. "You think you've seen the truth?" he yelled. "There's more. You think Kola Adeyemi's innocent? Ask him where he got his first billion. Ask him what happened to his old partner in Atlanta." The officers shoved him into the van, but the words had already gone viral. Amara's face went pale. "Sir, what does he mean?" Kola didn't answer immediately. His expression darkened, old memories flashing behind his eyes. Uche, watching the same clip on his phone, muttered, "Looks like Marlon isn't done fighting." Kola finally looked up. "Marlon's trying to shift blame. But there was something, a mistake from years ago that I thought was buried." Amara frowned. "What mistake?" He looked at her, his voice low. "The kind that can destroy a man twice, once when he commits it and again when it's revealed." Uche sighed. "Then you better tell me before Marlon does. Because he's about to start talking." Kola glanced out the window, the city glittering like 1,000 watching eyes. "I built my empire clean," he said quietly. "But I didn't build it alone. And the man who helped me vanished before our first big contract." Amara gasped softly. "Vanished?" Kola nodded slowly. "Yes. And if Marlon knows what happened to him, then this war isn't over." Outside, thunder rolled across the lagoon, heavy and low, as if Lagos itself was listening. The truth had saved Kola once. But now it was about to test him. The thunderstorm that rolled over Lagos that night seemed to echo the unease inside Kola Adeyemi's mansion. The air was heavy, the kind that carried secrets. Kola stood by his office window, staring at the flickering skyline. His reflection looked older, haunted, a man trying to hold his empire together while his past clawed its way back from the grave. Detective Uche and Amara sat nearby, waiting for him to speak. The sound of rain tapping against the glass filled the silence. Finally, Kola turned around. "You both deserve the truth," he said, his voice low, rough. "What Marlon said, about my first billion, about my partner, it wasn't just an empty threat." Amara leaned forward. "Sir, what happened to him?" Kola exhaled, his eyes distant. "His name was Darius Cole. We started Adeyemi Tech together in Atlanta 15 years ago. We were young, broke, hungry. Darius was the brains, I was the salesman. We worked day and night in a cramped garage building apps no one wanted. Then one day luck found us." He walked to the shelf and picked up an old framed photo, two smiling men in front of a small tech booth, holding laptops. "A U.S. investor offered to buy our software for $15 million. But Darius, he wanted to wait. He thought we could make 10 times that." Uche frowned. "And you disagreed?" Kola nodded slowly. "We argued. He said I was selling out too soon. I said he was dreaming too big. The fight got ugly. I left for a meeting alone, and when I came back, Darius was gone. His hotel room was cleared out, his phone switched off, his passport missing." Amara blinked. "He disappeared?" "Yes," Kola said. 2 weeks later the deal went through, under my name alone. His share was transferred into an account he had opened just before vanishing. Everyone assumed he ran off with his cut. I told myself the same thing for years." He set the photo down. "But that night I got a voicemail. A single message that I never told anyone about." Uche exchanged a look with Amara. "Do you still have it?" Kola nodded, reached into a drawer and pulled out an old phone, one of those bulky models from the early 2010s. He turned it on. It buzzed weakly, then loaded. He pressed play. "Kola, if you get this, I'm being followed. They found out about the encryption files. The ones hidden in our prototype. Don't trust anyone in the board. Especially not the lawyer Marlon recommended. He's not who he says he is. The message cut off abruptly, replaced by static. Amara covered her mouth. Marlon? She whispered. He was there from the beginning? Kola nodded grimly. Yes. He wasn't just Vanessa's lawyer. He used to work for our first investors in the US. I didn't realize he'd come back into my life under her employment, until it was too late. Uche rubbed his chin. If what you're saying is true, Marlon might have had a personal reason to destroy you. Maybe Darius didn't just vanish. Maybe Marlon made sure he did. The thought chilled the room. Kola sank into his chair. 4 years, I blamed myself for Darius's disappearance. I thought greed had broken our friendship. But now I'm wondering if it was something darker. Amara spoke softly. Maybe that's why Marlon hates you so much. Maybe you remind him of what he did. Before Kola could respond, Musa rushed in, his uniform damp from the rain. Sir, we've got a situation. What is it? Uche asked immediately. Musa handed Kola a tablet. Footage from the holding cells. Marlon collapsed 15 minutes ago. Doctors say he was poisoned. Amara gasped. Poisoned? But he was under police custody. Kola's face hardened. Someone doesn't want him to talk. Uche nodded grimly. That means there's a bigger player. Maybe someone from your company, or one of your old investors still pulling strings. Kola set the tablet down. We need to find out who before they come for me or Amara, again. Amara swallowed hard. Sir, I can help. I know what Marlon was hiding. Both men looked at her. She reached into her bag and pulled out a folded piece of paper, an old printout with strange codes and numbers. I found this in the kitchen the night of the gala, she said. Marlon dropped it when he was talking to someone on the phone. I kept it because the top said, Darius _. I didn't know what it meant. Kola's eyes widened. That's our old encryption name. The same one Darius mentioned in his voicemail. Uche grabbed the paper, scanning it quickly. This is a list of offshore accounts, encrypted behind fake company names. If this is what Marlon and Vanessa were after, it means billions, hidden money connected to the original Adeyemi Tech Foundation. Kola stared at the paper, realization dawning. So all of this, the gala, the poisoning, the scandal, it wasn't about humiliation. It was about control. Marlon wanted those accounts. And Vanessa? Amara asked softly. Kola shook his head. She was a pawn. He used her jealousy to start a war that would destroy me publicly while he accessed the real treasure privately. Uche looked up from the paper. If that's true, then someone else might already be using those accounts now that Marlon's gone. Someone who wanted him dead the moment he failed. The rain intensified, hammering the windows like warning knocks. Amara's voice quivered. Who could it be? Kola stared at the photo of him and Darius again, his throat dry. Only one person ever had the cipher key besides me, he said slowly. Darius. Uche frowned. You think he's alive? Kola turned to face them, his voice barely a whisper. If he is, then this whole thing wasn't revenge from my wife or her lawyer. It was Darius's comeback. The words hung in the air like thunder. Outside, lightning flashed across the sky, illuminating the city below, as if even the heavens were watching what came next. The rain had stopped, but the tension inside the mansion was heavier than ever. The storm outside had ended, only for another one to begin within. Kola sat at the dining table, the old photograph of him and Darius spread before him. His mind replayed everything. The missing partner, the mysterious accounts, the scandal, the poison. It all connected, but the missing piece was still Darius. Detective Uche and Amara watched as Kola stared at the photo in silence. Finally, Amara asked, Sir, if Darius is alive, why wait 15 years to come back? Kola didn't look up. Because sometimes revenge takes time to ripen. Uche's phone buzzed. He answered it immediately. Uche here. He listened, nodded, then ended the call with a grave look. Kola, we just traced a bank login attempt from one of your offshore accounts, the same ones in the cipher. Guess where it came from? Kola frowned. Where? Uche said, Accra, Ghana. Kola's eyes widened. That's where Darius's last credit card transaction happened 15 years ago. Amara gasped softly. Then he is alive. Uche nodded. And he's moving fast. If he drains those accounts, you'll lose everything, including the company. Kola stood. Then I'm going after him. Uche shook his head. Absolutely not. This isn't a business trip, Kola. It's a trap. Whoever this is, they're 10 steps ahead. If you go to Ghana without protection you may not return. I'm not hiding, Kola snapped. Too many people have already risked their lives for my mistakes. Amara almost died. I need to end this myself. Amara stepped forward, voice trembling. Then let me come with you. Kola turned sharply. No. You've done enough. You've been through enough. But she didn't back down. You said I saved your life, sir. Let me help you save what's left of it. Their eyes locked. It wasn't romance, it was resolve. A shared purpose born from chaos. Uche sighed heavily. Fine. But you're not going alone. I'll come with you. If this Darius is still out there, he won't slip through my fingers. 2 days later, Accra, Ghana. The humid air smelled like sea salt and danger. A rented black SUV pulled up near the docks. Kola, Amara, and Uche stepped out, blending with the evening crowd. Cargo workers shouted orders and ships creaked under the weight of containers. Uche checked his phone. The signal's coming from a warehouse near the port. That's where the transaction originated. They moved quietly through the maze of containers until they reached a tall, rusted structure with a broken sign that read Coal Exports Ltd. Amara froze. Coal? She whispered. That's Darius's last name. Kola's breath caught. He's here. Uche gestured for them to stay behind as he pushed open the door. The inside was dim, lit only by a few flickering bulbs. Computers hummed in a corner, screens filled with streams of code and bank transfers. Then a voice echoed from the shadows. I knew you'd come, Kola. Kola turned slowly. A man stepped into the light, a face older, leaner, but unmistakably familiar. Darius. His eyes, once warm, were now sharp and cold. A faint scar cut across his left cheek. Darius, Kola breathed. You're alive. Darius gave a small smile. Alive? Barely. Thanks to you. Kola took a step forward. I thought you ran away. You left everything. Darius laughed bitterly. Ran away? No, my friend. I was taken. He pointed at the ceiling. Your lawyer, Marlon. He worked for the same investors who funded us. When he realized I found out they were laundering through our software, he arranged my disappearance. They left me for dead in Tima. But I survived. Amara swallowed hard. So you came back for revenge? Revenge? Darius said, voice shaking with emotion. No, girl. Justice. They stole my work, my name, my life. And Kola here, he took the deal, took the glory, and built an empire while I rotted. Kola shook his head. I didn't know, Darius. I thought you left voluntarily. You took your share. My share. Darius interrupted, fury breaking through. They forged those transfers. You think I'd take money for my silence? You abandoned me, Kola. You let them bury me. Kola's voice rose. I didn't know, Darius. I swear it. For a long, tense moment, the two men stared at each other, their friendship, their pain, their betrayal all suspended between them. Then Darius exhaled and smiled darkly. It doesn't matter now. The accounts are mine again. The company is mine again. Uche stepped forward, gun drawn. Not anymore. You're under arrest for attempted murder, fraud, and... A gunshot cracked the air. The bullet hit Uche's shoulder, sending him crashing against a crate. Uche. Amara screamed, rushing to him. Two masked men emerged from the shadows, rifles raised. Darius had backup. Kola ducked behind a pillar as bullets tore through metal. Darius, stop this. You'll kill innocent people. Innocent? Darius shouted. You killed me first. Kola peeked from cover, his heart pounding. He had no weapon, just his voice. Darius, please. You don't have to become what they made you. Darius hesitated just for a second. Then Amara, trembling but brave, stepped forward. Mr. Darius, she said, her voice loud and clear. You were wronged. But this isn't justice, it's suicide. You think taking his life will heal yours? You'll only bury yourself again. Darius's hand trembled. The gun wavered between Kola and Amara. You don't understand. I understand pain, Amara said softly. But I also understand forgiveness. You came back from death once, don't waste that second chance. Her words cut through the air like a hymn. For a long, breathless moment, Darius didn't move. Then the sound of sirens grew louder outside. Ghanaian police were closing in. Darius's men panicked. Boss, we have to go. Darius looked at Kola one last time. You took everything from me. But she's right. I won't let them take me again. He dropped the gun. The police stormed in moments later, arresting everyone. Kola helped Uche to his feet, then turned to Darius, who stood quietly, hands behind his head. I never stopped wishing you'd come back, Kola said. Just not like this. Darius smiled sadly. I came back to destroy you, Kola? But he nodded toward Amara, reminded me there's still light left somewhere. As officers led him away, Darius turned once more. Take care of her. She's the reason both of us are still alive. Weeks later the world moved on. The headlines faded. Vanessa was sentenced to house arrest for conspiracy. Marlon's death was ruled self-inflicted. And Darius, now in custody, agreed to testify against the corrupt investors who had started it all. Kola's empire survived, but changed. He resigned as CEO, turning the company into a foundation for underprivileged youth. And Amara? She became the head of that foundation. The maid who once scrubbed floors now led a movement that inspired millions. One evening, on the balcony overlooking the lagoon, Kola found her there, watching the sunset. You know, he said softly, you turned my scandal into salvation. Amara smiled. No, sir. You turned your guilt into purpose. I just reminded you to look up. They stood together in silence as the sun sank low, its reflection dancing across the water. Kola glanced at her, eyes warm. Amara, do you ever regret what you did that night? The kiss. She smiled faintly, eyes distant. No. Because that kiss saved more than one life. It saved the truth. The breeze carried her words over the lagoon, where the waves whispered them back. Truth always finds its way home.